Right, so you're gearing up for that enterprise architect interview, right? Hoping to totally knock their socks off. And guess what? We've got the insider's secrets to make you shine.
That's right. We're going deep, deep into what really makes candidates stand out way beyond just checking off technical skills. It's about that bridging the gap magic.
Turning tech know-how into actual business wins. And
Yeah.
we've got RoleCatcher's insights to help us. They're like the Sherlock Holmes of career advice, especially for enterprise architects. But hold on, before we get lost in the details, what exactly does an enterprise architect do?
Imagine this, you're building a house. You wouldn't just start laying bricks without a blueprint, right? You'd end up with a disaster.
Yeah, a wonky shack instead of your dream home.
Exactly. An enterprise architect creates that crucial blueprint, making sure every tech decision, every system, every piece of software, it all supports the company's bigger goals. It's less about coding nonstop and more about being that strategic visionary.
So less keyboard warrior, more like the conductor of the tech orchestra.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, speaking of strategy, let's jump into RoleCatcher's top 10 enterprise architect interview questions. It's like a cheat sheet for your brain, getting you ready for anything an interviewer might throw your way. First up, what experience do you have in designing and implementing enterprise architecture solutions? Classic opener, right?
Definitely. They want proof you can take that vision and make it real. Don't just list off job titles, showcase the impact. Did you design a system that streamlined a process, maybe even saved the company some serious cash? Those stories are gold.
So it's about showing you're not all talk and no action,
God,
don't you? Now imagine they hit you with this. Can you tell us about a time your enterprise architecture solution didn't go as planned? What did you learn? Talk about a curveball.
Don't panic. It's an opportunity. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how you learn and grow from them. Be honest about the challenges, focus on the lessons learned, and how you use those lessons in later projects.
It proves you're not afraid to own your mistakes and that you're always evolving, which actually connects perfectly to what RoleCatcher talks about in their career guide continuous learning. They highlight certifications like TOJF or Zachman. Why are those such a big deal in the enterprise architect world?
Think of them like black belts in enterprise architecture. They show you've gone beyond the basics, mastered those frameworks and methodologies used to build and manage complex systems.
Okay, so staying sharp is a must.
Got it.
Next question. How do you ensure that enterprise architecture solutions align with business objectives? That feels like walking a tightrope.
It is a balancing act, but it's make or break for success. Remember that house analogy. The business stakeholders are the homeowners. You need to get their needs, their vision for the house, before you start designing the layout or picking out materials.
So understanding their goals, their pain points, and figuring out how technology can be the solution.
Exactly. Show them you have a system for gathering requirements, like running workshops or using specific frameworks. And don't forget to highlight those communication skills, especially explaining complex technical stuff to non-technical folks.
Because not everyone speaks fluent tech jargon, right? Here's a possible follow-up. Can you give me an example of a time you had to convince a stakeholder to adopt a different approach? That sounds like a delicate dance.
It can be, but it's a key part of the job. You're the expert, and sometimes you need to steer stakeholders toward the best solution, even if it's not what they initially had in mind. Pick a situation where you presented a really strong case using data and a deep understanding of their perspective to win them over.
That reminds me, RoleCatcher talks about the importance of hands-on experience, suggesting getting involved in things like IT transformation initiatives. How does that experience translate in an interview setting?
It makes your answers come alive. If you've been part of a team that successfully rolled out a new system, talk about the challenges, the wins, the lessons learned. It shows you can walk the walk.
All right, question 3 from RoleCatcher's Playbook. Can you describe your experience with cloud-based enterprise architecture solutions? The cloud? It's everywhere these days.
It's not just a buzzword, it's the backbone of modern business. Interviewers want to know you can navigate this world. Be specific about the platforms you've used, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Don't just name drop, though. Talk about real projects, real challenges, real wins.
Show them you're not just cloud curious, you're cloud confident. I like it. They might even ask, what are some security considerations when designing cloud-based solutions? Now we're getting serious.
As we should be, security is paramount in the cloud. This is your time to shine. Talk about data encryption, access controls, compliance regulations. Show them you're not just building castles in the cloud, you're securing them too.
Speaking of security, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your CV to see how well it highlights your security expertise and suggest ways to make it even stronger. It's like having a digital guardian angel for your career. Okay, on to question 4. How do you ensure that enterprise architecture solutions are scalable and flexible? Sounds like a recipe for a future-proof system.
Exactly. Businesses need systems that can grow and adapt without breaking the bank. This is your chance to talk about design patterns like load balancing or microservices. Think of them as the building blocks of a flexible system.
So proving you're not just building for today, you're building for tomorrow's challenges too.
Mm.
Okay, time for a potential curveball. Can you describe a time you had to re-architect a solution to handle unexpected growth or changes in business needs? Testing that adaptability.
It is, and it's a prime opportunity to showcase those problem-solving skills. Use the STAR method, lay out the situation, task, action, and result, walk them through your thought process, and highlight those aha moments that led to a successful outcome.
Okay, let's take a little detour for a sec and talk about those aha moments in your career journey. RoleCatcher's Career Guide emphasizes tailoring your CV to each specific job application.
It's all about connecting the dots for the hiring manager. Use the STAR method in your CV and cover letter to showcase those achievements. Make it crystal clear that you have the skills and experience they're looking for without making them work for it.
Right. Make it super obvious why you are the perfect fit for this role. Okay, back to the questions.
Question number 5 from RoleCatcher's list. What experience do you have with microservices architecture? Bit of a mouthful.
But it's a hot topic in enterprise architecture. Think of microservices like Legos for your tech solutions, allowing for that flexibility and scalability we talked about. It's building systems that can evolve and adapt easily.
So interviewers are looking for proof you're up to date with this approach. But what if you're just starting out, haven't had a chance to really get your hands dirty with microservices yet? RoleCatcher to the rescue again. Absolutely, they've got your back. They suggest personal projects contributing to open source, even diving into online courses and certifications. It's about showing initiative and a thirst for knowledge.
Okay, let's tackle question 6. How do you approach security and compliance when designing enterprise architecture solutions? Feels like a big one.
Huge security and compliance are non-negotiable. They need to be woven into the very fabric of your designs, not a last-minute band-aid. Talk about your understanding of security frameworks like ISO 27001 or NIST, your experience implementing security controls, and your knowledge of those all-important compliance regulations.
Okay, be specific. They might even ask, can you describe a time when you had to balance security requirements with business needs? Talk about walking that tightrope.
It's the classic dilemma. Security and business needs sometimes feel like they're on opposite sides. Share an example of how you navigated that tension, finding a solution that satisfied both security and business goals.
Diplomacy and tech savviness, all in one. RoleCatcher uses AI to analyze your interview answers for things like clarity, conciseness, how well you structure your answers. It's like having a digital mirror to perfect your delivery. Okay, question 7 is a real brain teaser. How do you prioritize and manage competing demands when designing enterprise architecture solutions? Sounds like a juggling act.
It's definitely a balancing act. You've got all these different stakeholders with different priorities, all vying for your attention and resources. That's where frameworks like Moscow or the Kano model come in handy. Talk about how you use those tools to prioritize tasks and manage expectations.
So it's not just saying yes to everything. It's about being strategic, making sure you're focusing on the things that deliver the most value.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to say no. Be ready to share an example of when you had to push back on a stakeholder's request. Focus on how you explained your reasoning clearly and respectfully and worked with them to find a different solution.
That's diplomacy in action. Speaking of diplomacy, let's touch on stakeholder management. RoleCatcher stresses how crucial it is in their career guide. Why is that?
Building those strong relationships with stakeholders is make or break for any successful enterprise architect. You need to understand their viewpoints, communicate effectively, build consensus around shared goals. It's about being a collaborator, a facilitator, sometimes even a negotiator.
It's about bringing everyone together and getting them excited about the vision, even if they don't always agree on the nitty-gritty details. Okay, on to question 8. How do you ensure that enterprise architecture solutions are maintainable and supportable? This one, it feels like it's all about playing the long game.
You got it. It's easy to get caught up in building something new and exciting, but you also have to think about what happens after you hand over the keys. Talk about your dedication to using industry standards, following documentation guidelines, and implementing monitoring and management tools.
So not just building a beautiful house, it's making sure the plumbing works and the lights stay on.
Yeah, exactly. And be prepared to share a time when you had to troubleshoot and fix a critical issue with an enterprise architecture solution. It's your chance to showcase those technical problem-solving skills and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
Because when systems crash, everyone looks to the enterprise architect to save the day. Okay, ready for question 9. This was a bit of a curveball. Can you tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult stakeholder relationship? We've all been there.
Haven't we all? Difficult stakeholders are part of the job. Choose an example that shows you can handle conflict constructively, communicate effectively, and build consensus, even when it's tough.
It's about finding that common ground and building bridges even when it feels like you're miles apart. And speaking of building bridges, that brings us to our final question from RoleCatcher's Top 10. How do you stay current with industry trends and best practices in enterprise architecture? In a field that moves as fast as tech, this feels essential.
Absolutely. Essential technology never sits still, and enterprise architects need to be at the forefront of those changes. Talk about how you stay up to date. Do you go to conferences, read industry publications, participate in online forums?
Show them you're not just keeping up, you're setting the pace. What about emerging technologies? Any that particularly excite you?
Great question. Choose a technology you're genuinely interested in, maybe AI, blockchain, quantum computing, and talk about its potential within an enterprise architecture context.
And here's a pro tip from RoleCatcher. Tailor your response to the specific company and industry you're interviewing with. Research their current tech stack, identify areas where emerging technologies could be a good fit, and weave those insights into your answer.
That shows you've done your homework, you understand their business, and you're already thinking about how your skills and expertise can help them reach their goals.
Okay, before we jump into part 2, I have to mention something that really excites me about RoleCatcher. Their AI-powered interview practice tool. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
It's amazing. You can practice your answers to common interview questions, get feedback on your delivery and content, even record yourself to see how you come across on camera.
It's like having a dress rehearsal before the big show. I love it. All right, we've covered a ton, but we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into the world of enterprise architects, exploring career paths, essential skills, and how RoleCatcher can help you achieve those career goals. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of enterprise architects. We tackle some seriously tough interview questions, but now let's switch gears for a bit and explore the career roadmap that's waiting for you. It's like mapping out your grand adventure before you even set sail.
And like any good adventure, it helps to have a guide. RoleCatcher's Career Guide actually breaks down the typical enterprise architect career path into 4 stages. Each one has its own milestones and challenges.
It's like leveling up in a video game, right? You start as a total newbie and then work your way up to the boss level. So tell me, what does that entry-level journey actually look like for someone who wants to be an enterprise architect?
It's all about building a strong foundation. Think internships, entry-level positions, maybe even shadowing a seasoned architect. It's about soaking up knowledge, getting your hands dirty with real projects, and showing that you're ready and eager to learn the ropes.
So it's all about being a sponge, soaking up all that knowledge from those around you.
Gotcha. So what about when you level up to a junior enterprise architect? What changes then?
Well, at that point, you're expected to have a good understanding of those enterprise architecture principles and frameworks, things like 2GF or Zachman. You'll be more involved in actually designing and implementing solutions, but you'll still have the support and guidance of more senior architects.
So it's like graduating from apprentice to journeyman. You're trusted with more, but you're still learning and refining your craft. And speaking of refining your craft, I know RoleCatcher really stresses how important those certifications are at this stage. Why are they so crucial? Certifications are like badges of honor in the tech world. They show you're dedicated to professional development, and they validate your expertise in those specific areas. It shows employers you're not just keeping up with the trends, you're mastering them.
Okay, so they're like the difference between reading about a magic spell in a book and actually being able to cast it in real life. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've conquered that junior level. Now you're moving up to senior enterprise architects.
Yeah.
What kind of new challenges and opportunities are waiting for you there?
At that level, it becomes less about doing and more about leading. You're mentoring junior architects, you're providing strategic direction, and you're influencing decision-making at higher levels in the company.
So it's like becoming that wise sage on the mountaintop, dispensing wisdom and guiding others on their own journey.
Exactly.
I love that analogy. Okay, so let's talk about that pinnacle of the enterprise architect career path, the coveted principal enterprise architect role. What does it take to reach those heights?
It takes more than just technical expertise, although that's definitely important. Principal enterprise architects are visionaries. They define the entire organization's technology roadmap. They drive innovation, and they're champions for change at the highest levels.
Wow, so they're like the architects of the future, shaping the technological landscape for the whole company.
Exactly. And they don't get to that level of influence overnight. It takes years of experience, a proven track record of success, and exceptional leadership and communication skills.
So it's about being able to articulate a vision that people can get behind, inspire others to follow you, and navigate all those complexities of organizational change. It's a tall order,
It is.
but it sounds incredibly rewarding.
Oh.
So let's be real for a second. Not everyone aspires to be the CEO of technology.
Mhm.
Some people are happy to focus on their area of expertise and build a fulfilling career as a specialist. So is there room for that in the world of enterprise architecture?
Absolutely. Not everyone is cut out for the C-suite, and that's perfectly fine. The world of enterprise architecture is huge. There are tons of opportunities for specialization. You could become an expert in a particular industry, a specific type of technology, or even a specific architectural framework or methodology.
So it's about finding your niche,
Yeah.
that area where your passion and expertise really intersects, and then building a career that you find both challenging and rewarding.
Exactly. And you never know, that specialization could even lead you down unexpected paths, opening doors to leadership opportunities that you hadn't even considered.
There you go. It's about following your curiosity, embracing those opportunities, and never being afraid to push yourself outside that comfort zone. Okay, so speaking of opportunities, let's go back to something we talked about earlier, the importance of certifications. RoleCatcher's Guide lists a bunch that are super sought after in this field. It's like they have a secret decoder ring for career advancement.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through some of those must-have certifications?
Of course. One of the most recognized and respected certifications out there is 2JAF. That stands for the Open Group Architecture Framework. It's a globally recognized standard for enterprise architecture. It provides a super comprehensive framework for designing, planning, implementing, and governing an enterprise IT architecture.
So it's like the gold standard,
Yeah.
the one certification every aspiring enterprise architect should have on their radar.
Exactly. It's a big investment of your time and effort, but it can pay off big time. Another valuable certification is the Zachman Certified Enterprise Architect, or ZCEA. The Zachman framework is a foundational framework for enterprise architecture. It gives you a structured way to define and organize the different perspectives of an organization's enterprise architecture.
So it's like having a blueprint for understanding all those different viewpoints and concerns that need to be taken into account when you're designing complex systems.
Exactly. And while those two are considered foundational, there are also a lot of specialized certifications that can boost your credibility and your earning potential. RoleCatcher's Guide does a great job of breaking those down by specialty area.
It's like having a personalized roadmap for certification success. Love it. So we've talked a lot about the technical side of things, but let's shift gears a bit and talk about those all-important soft skills. In a world that's becoming more and more tech-driven, it's easy to forget that human skills still matter a lot, maybe even more now than ever.
You're absolutely right. RoleCatcher's data actually shows that soft skills are becoming more and more important for enterprise architects. They need to be able to communicate effectively, build relationships, influence stakeholders, and navigate all the dynamics of an organization.
So it's about being able to bridge that gap between the tech world and the human world, translating all those complex ideas into something everyone can understand, and then building consensus around common goals.
Exactly. And one of the absolute most important soft skills for any enterprise architect is communication. You need to be able to explain complex technical stuff clearly and concisely, both when you're speaking and writing. And you have to do it for audiences with different levels of technical understanding.
So you're like a translator, taking all that tech jargon and turning it into something everyone can understand.
Exactly.
That's a valuable skill. So it's not just about what you're saying, it's also about how you say it. Active listening is super important too, right?
Absolutely. Communication is a two-way street. You need to be able to really listen to and understand other people's perspectives, even when those perspectives are totally different from your own.
So it's all about building those bridges instead of walls.
Got it.
What about empathy? How important is that for enterprise architects?
Empathy is crucial. It lets you understand the needs, motivations, and concerns of your stakeholders. And that's essential for building trust, resolving conflicts, and creating solutions that actually work for everyone.
It's about stepping into someone else's shoes and seeing the world from their perspective.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked about communication, empathy. What about problem solving?
That's a big one. Enterprise architects are basically the Sherlock Holmes of the technology world. They use their powers of deduction and their deep understanding of systems to solve complex issues and find elegant solutions.
So it's about thinking critically challenging assumptions and being resourceful when it comes to finding those solutions.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on those soft skills. Let's talk about something that can give you a real advantage in today's competitive job market. And that's using the power of technology to enhance your job search.
And when it comes to that, RoleCatcher is in a league of its own. Their AI-powered platform is a game changer for anyone looking for a job or wanting to advance their careers.
So it's like having a personal career assistant working behind the scenes to help you reach your goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes RoleCatcher so unique is that it personalizes your job search experience. Instead of just using those generic job boards and hoping for the best RoleCatcher, uses AI to match your skills, experience, and career goals with the right job opening.
That's incredible. So it's doing all the hard work for you, finding the best opportunities that you might not even know about.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just finding jobs. RoleCatcher also helps you optimize your application materials so you'll get noticed by potential employers. Their AI-powered CV resume builder actually analyzes your current CV or resume and finds areas where you can improve. It then suggests specific revisions to make it more compelling and ATS-friendly.
Wow. So it's like having a professional resume writer on call.
Mm.
That's amazing. And what about interview prep?
They've got you covered there, too. Their interview preparation tools are invaluable. Their library of practice interview questions is fantastic. It covers tons of topics and industries. And their AI-powered feedback feature gives you personalized suggestions for improvements so you can refine your answers and get better at interviewing.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal interview coach right in your pocket.
Exactly. And the best part is RoleCatcher is constantly evolving and getting better. They're always adding new features and improving their algorithms to provide the most relevant and personalized career guidance possible.
So it's clear that RoleCatcher is more than just a job board. It's a total career development platform that uses the power of technology to empower job seekers and working professionals at every stage of their careers.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's take a closer look at what an enterprise architect actually does. RoleCatcher's Guide gives a great breakdown of the essential skills you need to excel in this field.
It's a really valuable resource for anyone even thinking about a career in enterprise architecture because it provides great insights into the day-to-day realities of the job and what skills are most in demand.
They actually break down those core abilities into percentages, which gives us a really clear picture of which skills are most prevalent in the field. So for instance, operations analysis comes in at 64%. That shows just how important it is to analyze those needs and product requirements to create effective designs.
It's about understanding the business problem that you're trying to solve and then designing a tech solution that actually addresses that problem.
Right. And right behind operations analysis is reading comprehension at 61%. It might seem like a basic skill, but it's so important for enterprise architects. They need to be able to quickly and accurately understand a ton of information from all kinds of sources, technical documents, business requirements, industry publications, you name it.
It's not just about reading, it's about understanding, analyzing, and synthesizing that information.
Right. It's about being able to pull out those key takeaways and then use them to make good decisions. So speaking of informed decisions, systems evaluation also ranks really high on the list at 61%. That really stresses how important it is to be able to identify those key performance indicators, assess system performance, and recommend improvements.
It's all about taking a data-driven approach to evaluating systems and making sure they're meeting those business objectives.
Okay, so we can't forget about programming, which comes in at 59%. While enterprise architects aren't necessarily writing code all day, every day, they still need to understand programming concepts and principles. That's how they're able to effectively communicate with developers and make smart decisions about technology choices.
It's about speaking the language of technology and understanding what different programming languages and platforms can and can't do.
Right. It's about being that bridge between the business folks and the tech folks. Okay, so speaking of bridges, let's not underestimate those essential soft skills that are so critical for success as an enterprise architect. RoleCatcher highlights active learning at 57%. That just shows how important it is to be a lifelong learner who's always looking for new information and adapting to the constantly changing tech landscape.
You've got to have that growth mindset. Be curious. Embrace new challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's about being okay with not knowing everything, but being willing to learn and grow. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Active listening is also high on the list at 57%.
Why is that? Because you really need to be able to hear and understand what other people are saying, whether they're stakeholders, colleagues, or industry experts.
It's about being present in the conversation, asking questions, and being empathetic and respectful of different points of view.
Exactly. You're creating a space where everyone feels heard.
I like that. Okay, so what about complex problem solving? That's a big part of the job, right?
Absolutely. That's also at 57%. It's that ability to take a complex issue and break it down into smaller, manageable parts.
Yeah.
Then you analyze the data, figure out the root cause, and come up with creative solutions.
So enterprise architects are like detectives. They have to piece together all the clues to solve the mystery.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so judgment and decision making is also up there at 57%. Why is that such a vital skill for enterprise architects?
Because they need to be able to weigh different options, look at the risks and benefits, and then make sound decisions that align with the company's goals.
So it's about being strategic and decisive and having the confidence to stand by your decisions even when things are uncertain.
Exactly.
Okay, so we can't forget about communication. Both systems analysis and writing come in at 57%. Why are those communication skills so important in this role?
Because enterprise architects need to be able to analyze those complex systems. They need to be able to document their findings clearly and concisely. And then they need to communicate those findings to both technical and non-technical audiences.
So it's about being a storyteller, using data in clear language to get your point across and drive action.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. RoleCatcher's insights into the core abilities of an enterprise architect are really helpful. By focusing on both your technical skills and those all-important soft skills, you'll be in a great position to overcome challenges and really excel in this field. Okay, so let's take a closer look at some of those in-demand technical skills. RoleCatcher's guide gives us a fascinating look into the knowledge areas that are most important for this role. And at the top of that list is computers and electronics at a whopping 94%.
That makes sense. Enterprise architects are designing and implementing complex IT systems that support the entire organization, so they need a really deep understanding of computers and electronics. That includes hardware, software, networking security, and even emerging technologies.
So it's about having that strong foundation in IT principles and practices that allows you to choose the right technologies and design systems that are scalable, secure, and adaptable. So what comes in second?
Mathematics at 75%.
Interesting. So why is math so important for this role?
Because analytical and problem-solving skills are so crucial for enterprise architects. Whether you're looking at data to find trends, designing algorithms, or modeling complex systems, a strong math foundation is essential.
It's about being able to use logic reasoning and those quantitative skills to solve problems and make data-driven decisions.
Got it.
Got it. What's next on the list?
Engineering and technology at 70%. This one emphasizes the importance of understanding those basic engineering principles and how they're used in tech design and implementation.
So things like software engineering methodologies, systems design principles, and new technologies like cloud computing, AI, and blockchain.
Exactly.
And of course, we can't forget about communication. Native language comes in at 63%. Why is it so important?
Because enterprise architects have to be great communicators. They need to be able to explain complex technical concepts in a way that everyone can understand, and that includes stakeholders, colleagues, and vendors.
It's about being clear, concise, and engaging, and knowing how to tailor your communication style to your audience.
Exactly.
Okay, so design is also high on the list at 64%. Why is design such a critical skill for an enterprise architect?
Because whether you're designing IT systems, business processes, or user interfaces, understanding those design principles can help you create solutions that are both functional and aesthetically pleasing.
So it's about understanding things like balance, contrast, hierarchy, and unity, and using those principles to create things that are both visually appealing and easy to use.
Exactly. And in today's competitive market, that user experience can make or break a product or service.
That's so true. It's about creating those really seamless and enjoyable experiences that make people actually want to use your systems. Okay, so what about administration and management? That comes in at 58%. Why is that important for enterprise architects?
Well, while enterprise architects aren't usually responsible for those day-to-day management tasks, they still need a good understanding of business principles and practices. That's how they're able to collaborate with stakeholders, lead teams, and manage projects effectively.
So they need to understand how organizations work, how decisions are made, and how to handle all the complexities of company culture and politics.
Exactly.
Okay, so next up we have telecommunications at 53%. With the rise of cloud computing, mobile devices, and the Internet of Things, a solid foundation in telecommunications is super important for designing and implementing those systems.
Exactly. It's about understanding how data is transmitted across networks, how to guarantee quality of service, and how to deal with security risks in our connected world.
It's about understanding those invisible highways of information that connect all our devices.
That's fascinating. Okay, so there are a couple of key areas that often get overlooked but are super important for being a successful enterprise architect, customer, and personal service and education and training role catchers guide stresses how important both of these are. They're crucial. The best enterprise architects aren't just tech wizards, they're also customer focused and dedicated to always learning. Customer and personal service comes in at 56%, and that emphasizes how important it is to understand customer needs, manage expectations, and build strong relationships. Even though enterprise architects don't usually interact with external customers, they still have internal customers like stakeholders and end users. Their needs and perspectives need to be considered throughout the entire design and implementation process.
So it's about remembering that technology is a tool, and the real measure of success is how well that technology serves the people who use it.
Exactly. It's about putting the user first and creating solutions that are not only functional, but also intuitive and enjoyable to use.
I love that user-centered approach. Okay, so what about education and training? That's at 58%. Why is that so important?
Because in a field like technology, you can't just stop learning. You need to be constantly seeking out new information, expanding your skills, and staying ahead of the curve.
It's about having that growth mindset. Always be learning, be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. And it's not just about you learning, it's also about sharing what you've learned with others, mentoring junior colleagues and giving back to the professional community.
And that brings us to another really valuable aspect of RoleCatcher's platform, their commitment to community. They offer a ton of resources and tools to help enterprise architects connect with each other, share what they know, and build their professional networks.
So it's like having access to this global network of mentors, peers, and potential collaborators. That's amazing.
It really is. And in
Yeah.
today's world, collaboration and knowledge sharing are more important than ever.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's shift gears for a moment and talk about acing those job interviews.
Mm.
We've covered a lot of ground on the skills and knowledge you need to be a successful enterprise architect.
Mhm.
But what about the interview process itself? What can candidates do to really stand out, make a great impression, and land that dream job?
That's a fantastic question. And it's something that RoleCatcher covers in depth in their interview preparation guide. They have so many tips and strategies for every step of the way, from the first phone call to the final in-person interview.
So it's like having a secret weapon, a roadmap to navigate the sometimes tricky world of job hunting.
Exactly. One of the things RoleCatcher emphasizes is the importance of preparation. And I don't just mean researching the company and practicing your answers to common interview questions, although those are definitely important too. I'm talking about being ready for anything.
Because interviews rarely go exactly as planned.
Right, exactly. You never know what they're going to ask. There will be curveballs moments where you have to think on your feet. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice tool comes in. It lets you practice different interview scenarios, complete with those unexpected questions and challenging follow-ups. That way you can practice your answers, build your confidence, and be ready for anything.
It's like having a sparring partner to help you train for the big fight.
That's a great way to put it. And the AI gives you personalized feedback, too. It highlights what you did well and where you can improve.
It's like having a personal coach giving you advice and helping you reach your full potential. Okay, so let's talk about how to communicate your value proposition during an interview. You can't just list off your skills and experience. You have to connect the dots for the interviewer. Show them how your unique combination of talents will help them achieve their goals.
Exactly. It's about telling a story. And the STAR method is a great way to structure your stories. That stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's a clear and concise way to talk about your experiences and achievements in a way that highlights your skills and the impact you've made.
So instead of just saying, I implemented a new cloud-based infrastructure, you would tell them the whole story, the
Yeah.
situation, the problems you face, what you did to solve those problems, and the results you achieved.
Exactly. And whenever you can quantify those results with numbers, percentages, or other metrics, that way you're showing the tangible value you brought to the table.
Because numbers are powerful, especially in the business world. Okay, so let's talk about salary expectations. It can be a bit of a touchy subject, but you need to be prepared to talk about your salary requirements confidently and from a place of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Salary is a huge part of any job decision. And that's where RoleCatcher's salary data is so helpful. They give you detailed salary info for a wide range of roles, industries, and locations. You can compare your expectations to industry standards and negotiate from a place of strength.
It's like having access to a secret vault of salary info. That's
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something that trips up a lot of people behavioral interview questions. Those questions that start with, tell me about a time when, or describe a situation where.
Those questions are designed to see what your soft skills are like, how you solve problems, your leadership potential, and how you handle tough situations.
Yeah.
And they can be tricky because there's no one right answer.
So how do you prepare for that?
The key is to have specific examples ready from your past experiences that showcase those desired skills and qualities. And that's where RoleCatcher's library of practice interview questions and their AI-powered feedback are so helpful.
It's like having that coach in your pocket again. Okay, so let's talk about following up after an interview. In a competitive job market, a good thank you note can really make you stand out.
It really can. And it's not just about saying thank you. It's about reiterating why you're interested in the job, mentioning key takeaways from your conversation, and reminding them how well your skills and experience align with what they're looking for.
So it's about staying top of mind, showing you're enthusiastic, and leaving a good, lasting impression. Makes sense. And RoleCatcher even has templates and tips for writing those thank you notes.
They do. It's a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about continuous learning and professional development for a bit. In a field that changes as quickly as technology does, you can't afford to just rest on your laurels. You need to always be learning, growing, and expanding your skill set.
So true. Standing still is not an option. What's RoleCatcher's take on this?
They get it. They understand that it's not just about finding a job, it's about building a real career. And they provide a ton of resources to help with continuous learning and development. They actually use AI to analyze your skills, experience, and career goals, and then they recommend courses, certifications, and learning paths that make sense for you.
That's amazing. So it's like having a custom-made learning plan.
Exactly. And they offer a bunch of different formats, from quick micro-learning modules to in-depth online courses. You can learn at your own pace whenever and wherever you want.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about learning. What about networking? How important is that in the world of enterprise architecture?
Networking is more important than ever these days. You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. And RoleCatcher has tools and resources to help you connect with other professionals, share your knowledge, and build your network.
It's like having access to a global community of people who understand the challenges and rewards of this field. That's fantastic. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've explored so much about enterprise architects, from career paths and essential skills to totally rocking those interviews. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that's super important, that spark, that drive that makes someone not just want this job, but crush it. What are those intangible things that make an enterprise architect truly exceptional?
It's that passion, you know? It's about more than just being good with tech. It's about really believing in the power of technology to transform businesses, solve those real-world problems, and shape the future.
It's about seeing the art of the possible in lines of code and server stacks.
Exactly. The best enterprise architects are storytellers. They can paint a picture of how technology can help a company reach its full potential. And they're master negotiators, too. They know how to navigate all those different stakeholders and priorities, bring people together, and get everyone excited about the vision.
So they're like conductors, leading an orchestra of developers, business analysts, security experts, all working together to create something amazing.
I like that analogy.
Right. And this is something that RoleCatcher gets. They don't just focus on what the job is, they highlight why it matters. They emphasize those core values and motivations that drive the most successful people in this field.
It's about finding a company where your personal values align with theirs.
Exactly. When your values are aligned, work becomes more than just a job. It's something you believe in.
Absolutely. That's when the magic happens.
That's when you go from being a good enterprise architect to an amazing one. So to everyone out there who wants to be an enterprise architect, don't be afraid to dream big. Embrace those challenges and never ever stop learning. The world needs your vision, your passion, and your ability to connect technology with human ingenuity.
Well said.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there every step of the way, with the tools, resources, and support you need to make those dreams a reality. So go out there, embrace the challenge, and build the future you've always imagined. And be sure to check out RoleCatcher, your AI-powered partner in the quest for career success. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, keep on diving deep.